if you're not aware of this, one of the new trends that video game companies are doing, especially video game companies who had retro consoles, they re-release their retro consoles usually in a smaller format, very like a smaller shape or body, I should say, and they just jam-pack it with a bunch of games that were on that console. The GameGear Micro is no different. Now, the GameGear Micro, I wouldn't say is a revolutionary console. It's a well-received console. A lot of people might not even know what the GameGear Micro is. It's essentially Sega's Game Boy. It's a portable console made by Sega back in the, I believe, early 90s. Let me just double check that real quick. So the GameGear Micro originally released October 6th of 1990. So that's like about 30 years ago, 31 years ago, give or take. So the GameGear Micro is set to release this year, I believe, and it's not Sega's first time doing this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, I guess, like a mini retro console, I guess that's what you would call it. They did have the Genesis come out, and it's kind of like a mini version of the Genesis with games on it. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I'm not really a Sega guy. This trend seems to be very popular, especially after the NES Mini blew up, resale value spiking, and even then, the predecessor, which was the SNES Classic, sells for about $300. With the success of these two mini classic consoles released by Nintendo, a lot of other companies dipped their toe in, including PlayStation actually. PlayStation actually made a PlayStation 1 Classic, which was pretty sick. Actually, just a quick tidbit before I go on. I didn't know that the Dreamcast was actually released November 27th, 1998, which is my exact birthday. I was born November 27th, 1998. So the Dreamcast and I are actually one in the same. So let's get into some of the specs of the GameGear Micro. There are 4 GameGear Micros coming out. There's a black, a blue, a yellow, and a red. Each of those Game Gears has 4 different games on them. So that's 16 games total if you collect the entire collection. Now, it's called the GameGear Micro because it's a micro version of the Game Gear. So it's smaller than the original Game Gear, and how small, you may ask? And the screen measures 1 inch by 1 inch, which already just turns me off from buying it, even as a collector's piece, just because it's just so small and impractical to use. It's 1 inch by 1 inch. And as I said previously, there's 4 games on each console. Now, the price is what really impacts this, because 4 games, 1 inch by 1 inch, so it's very small. It fits in the palm of your hand, unlike the original Game Gear. You know, it must be priced lower, because there's only 4 retro games, which a lot of them I believe you can get on virtual consoles, and it's 1 inch by 1 inch, so everyone's expecting, okay, the price is going to be probably like $30 American, $20 American. One Game Gear, one fucking Game Gear is $50 American for a 1 inch by 1 inch screen with 4 fucking games on it. $50 American. It's actually ridiculous. $50 for a Game Gear Micro, 4 games on it, and a 1 inch screen. I'm actually blown away. A lot of people have already known about this. I realize it's not a new topic. Like it was announced, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago. But I wanted to make a video about it just to clarify how fucking stupid it is. A 1 inch by 1 inch screen for $50. Okay? Now they're selling a pack. So let's just do the math real quick. 50 times 4 is 200. Which is what it would cost to get all 4 1 inch Game Gears, okay, with 4 games on them each. So it cost you $200 before tax to obtain all 4 Game Gears. Now, Sega has a big brain move. They're like, we're gonna sell all 4 in one pack. Now, when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's probably gonna be cheaper than $200 if you buy all of them up front, which is still so fucking obscure. Like, imagine this, right? The NES Classic came out, and Canadian dollars, it was $75. So I think that's probably around, I don't know, $40 American. It was like $40 American when the NES Classic came out. And that shit had 30 games. And it plugged into my TV. And I didn't have to use a 1 inch screen. So just thinking about $200 for 4 1-inch screen consoles that only have 4 games on them each. That's crazy, dude. That's so crazy. Like, it's just, anyway, I'm getting off topic. So Sega was like, okay, people might want to buy all 4 of these overpriced dog shit fucking consoles together. So Sega's like, instead of giving them a deal where it's cheaper to buy all 4 together as opposed to buying them individually, we're actually going to charge them $50 more, and they're going to get the opportunity of getting this fucking weird magnifying glass that sits on top of your 1-inch GameGear Micro. So essentially what I'm saying is that in the $250 pack, you get all 4 GameGear Micros plus the Sega Big Window. So it's this big fucking magnifying glass thing that sits on top of your GameGear Micro that enhances the visual field by 4 inches. So it's a 5-inch magnifying glass, and it seems here hinders your ability to actually press the very few buttons that are already on the small little fucking bitch console. This is just one big terrible product by Sega. Like, there's one simple solution to this. Okay, you put all 16 games onto one console, and you make that console the original size of the Game Gear. An exact replica of the Game Gear, except you can't put actual Game Gear games in it, okay? I'm not buying the Game Gear Micro. I do not care for it. If they did what I proposed they would do, I mean, and just release a Game Gear that's regular size with 16 games on it already, then I would be more inclined to buying it, because I can actually see the fucking screen, and I have 16 games at my disposal at once. You know, it just doesn't make sense why you would make this small fucking mini console with 4 games on it, basically just for nostalgia purpose, because no one's actually going to play these games on a 1-inch screen for $50. Like, if anything, make them $15, make them $20, but $50? That's a little bit overkill. That's a little bit overkill. And if you think Sonic is gonna sell this console because he's on 2 of the fucking Game Gears, I think you're mistaken, Sega. I don't think this is gonna go well. So anyway, that's the video. I hope it wasn't too long, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Love you guys. Adios.